The difference between bushcraft and survivalism.
A pseudo-intellectual walk in the woods.
Oh geez, where to begin? So the difference between bushcraft and survivalism. Preppers focus on accumulating resources and planning for specific disasters, while survivalists prioritize developing practical skills for off-grid living in case of societal collapse. The way I categorize it, survivalism is the concept, whilst bushcraft is the function. Depending on heritage influence, in some ways, people living off-grid practice both in order to be prepared within a sustainable fraction while living outside of general society. As part of it, one needs to be diligent.
Preparing today for tomorrow's survival.
Controlling the random element and having stores in place, just in case. Well, that rhymed. While bushcrafting is predominantly a hobby practiced by primitive First Nations, cowboy, military, and heritage skill sets. At some point, any prepper is going to need to fall back on these skill sets to remain sustainable. In this way, I categorize it as individual aspects towards the same greater goal. Let's go. There's the old adage of 3 individuals on a boat. One end of the boat has the hole, and one individual is at that hole, bailing it frantically in order to stay afloat. Meanwhile, the other 2 are pontificating at the other end, glad that the hole isn't there. Meanwhile, the unmentioned other 3, the prepper, the survivalist, and the bushcrafter, abandoned ship and are working together to find and maintain terra firma. Which brings us to our bigger topic as we're rapidly approaching 2026, the year of the fire horse. However that translates. The doomsday clock has been stuck just past 2 minutes to midnight since 2018. The rapidly approaching 3i Atlas, theories split between alien invasion and intervention, ongoing speculations about World War III, and the whole frog in a pot concept, water getting hotter, frog not realizing, submergence into a totalitarian shift. We're all shuffling into some pretty strange waters between firearms bans, vaguely worded border securities acts, online speech/thought crimes, and some people's perspectives on a Leninist /Marxist government-style overreach. If anything, 2025 should have been a year of the sheep, given one unmentionable political party's movements towards creating the huge deficit in Canada, instability causing destabilization. No one can afford to eat, pay rent, or buy a home. Only to vote that exact same party back into standing.
Well, from what I heard, nobody actually voted for that party. Well, I mean, he who was voted in wasn't even a politician. Some would say that we were guided, prompted, persuaded, and coerced to elect the UN and WF agenda through those agencies' sanctioned world banker. It's actually even being said that we didn't even vote for him, but that we were coerced to vote against the threat of the purported tariff bully over on the next block.
Check my ID.
Well, I mean, I've been a lifetime leftist. Yeah, leaning right up until what seemed to become blatantly obvious. What, you're talking the whole vaccination conspiracy thing? Stuff not lining up and playing out like a sci-fi script? Yeah, I mean, sort of. I've pretty much been a passive observer the entire time, my education and NDAs having previously worked for the United Nations, as you're aware. It just offers me a perspective holding far too much empirical data to simply concede or comply. I honestly just have way too much compassion for both sides within a kind of sovereign empathy. Yeah, no, I totally got that. I found what the craziest thing was watching these government narrative supporters getting super antagonist and volatile. Like it was okay to hold absolutes and aggression towards anyone questioning that narrative. Well, I mean, given the option of informed consent, most of the populace having been locked down for 72 days. Buenos Aires is actually a total of 234 days. Yeah, and some of us living alone, unable to see anybody, supporting what some believe to be a manipulative coercion towards the experimental vaccination. Got to trust that science. Well, in the end, the science reported some serious side effects from myocarditis, pericarditis, anaphylaxis, mental health issues, and so on. Yeah, and there was that whole culling mandate thing in the Georgia Guidestones. And some people say if you read between the lines of Agenda 21, it kind of follows along those sort of guidelines, all within regards to like global stabilization and global warming and food supply and stuff. Yeah, and on top of all that, and this is going to sound crazy, but going way back to the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, marketing has become the biggest religion that nobody realizes it's worshiping. Yeah, I'm not following. Talking the coconut of subterfuge. We went from push-style marketing campaigns with companies viciously competing against each other and practically begging you to buy their product.
The proof? Take a dry egg at room temperature. Touch the egg with any other bandage. Brand X, brand Y, brand Z. Not one sticks. But a Band-Aid plastic strip with new Super Stick sticks tight instantly. Band-Aid plastic strips with new Super Stick stick better than any other Band-Aid. The most trusted name in surgical dressing.
To the era of Edward Bernays' Pull Marketing, Chris Hemsworth posted on a giant billboard brandishing an $8,000 Tag Here watch as an international sex symbol, both the consummate marker for success within a world marketed insecurity and fallen into performative superficiality. Anyway, that's a whole other long-ass footnote, best told by this documentary linked in the upper right-hand corner, which not only won Best Historical Documentary upon its release, but also Best Documentary Series. Okay, so where are you going with all this? That control starts with subversion. I mean, there's historical references that are extremely prevalent here. But I mean, making the comparison somehow follows a built-in mob mentality, deemed insensitive, scorned, doxxed, and shameable despite the prevalence. You look at it, for a period of almost 2 years, people were at each other's throats, whipped into a frenzy that seemed to be directive somehow, maybe towards destabilization. Just sort of seems like it was pitting society against itself within a wonderful little dichotomy. Yeah, and you honestly can't blame anybody. Nope, the idea is that everybody was just whipped into a panic and manipulated by an agenda. Look, I'm not saying that the vid wasn't real, just that maybe its function was really well played. So, masked or unmasked, it was no longer my body, my choice, given that the narrative talked about ending the spread of the virus required everyone to comply. And if you didn't, you're potentially killing someone's compromised parents, grandparents, or children. Okay, so you're saying it was all kind of like this destabilization thing kind of turning us against each other? Well, it had us turning in our neighbors, our family members, and our friends. You enjoying your Doritos? Yeah? You're crunching over my dialogue. Coerced and manipulated, forced into isolation with at least a half of the populace losing their minds, with a compromised resource chain and its own government judiciously ruled, committing treason in order to support itself. Okay, right. So, jump to the governing body who initiated the mandate and enforcing informed consent, swooping in with financial support, which indebted the country even further. Right, which kind of supports my point. Stay with me now. As this all twists and turns, it gets into some Yuri Benzinoff type of stuff. Take, for example, Coca-Cola first started sponsoring popular entertainment and sporting events beginning with the 1928 Olympics. The event itself, popular Olympians, musicians, etc., and continue to do so to this day. Obviously an extremely successful campaign strategy, which Red Bull has pretty much mimicked to the point of not only maintaining, but also transitioning from the world's most popular energy drink into a global sporting industry itself.
Anything's possible.
So what, let them eat cake? Or in this case, coliseums? Kind of, but no. The key thing to take away from these campaigns is what these two drink companies did was to brand and associate themselves within their timeline zeitgeist so affirmatively that their very image was synonymous with what was cool. They became their timeline zeitgeist, influencing brand loyalty and social indoctrination. Okay, so you're saying take an entire generation coming up, pressed into poverty by lockdowns, deficits, and over-immigration. Stripped and obscured to full-time employment, no hope to ever own a home, watching their parents struggle to make ends meet, all orchestrated by a decade's worth of planned systemic paradigm shift. In the end, that hero making its populace the martyr, landmarking the first time in history that it's ever been popular to trust the government. So kind of like the idea that a dog's love and obedience is based off of where it's fed. Perverting any outside opposing perspective, a threat to society, replacing personal sovereignty with blind obsequiousnesses. Okay, well, that's a lot. I need some air. Hey man, you're the film industry guy. Just my fun little dystopian political thriller script. Well, that was a bit much.
Definitely an interesting theory, which kind of puts to bed the FBI's and other government agencies' disregard for Yuri Benzinov's statements back in the 80s regarding Soviet espionage and destabilization. In any case, we're going to take this opportunity to announce a little holiday break until early next year, where we'll come back and see where everything's at. We'll be kicking things off with a little relevance to this video, having some fun, going over some little survival and basic tactics in case of societal collapse. Get home safe bags, bug in type of stuff, bug out type bags, facial recognition, and what have you. Only rolling loaded dice. Until then, happy holidays. And never forget, always know your exits. Oh, and carry a good book. Just in case you were wondering why I was going off trail.